All right, how you guys doing today? But to hop into the review of Proverbs chapter 28. The first things first, though, just want to make sure y'all like that video. Hit a little exit full screen, scroll yourself just a little bit, like the video, and full screen it back up. You feel me? I believe we are 3 or 4 more chapters away from finishing Proverbs. It's been a long time, and then we get back into the New Testament. Man, I'm missing it. I'm really missing it, and learning and growing in a different sense, right? But wisdom shall never fail us. But also, these videos are going to be a testament to then I can just go back and I can relive this wisdom, right? And I can hear myself giving my new self old advice, right? Because I'm a firm believer that you can learn from anything. So old advice, even still, it holds its principles. We still live to the principles true in the Bible today. So, hopefully these videos can be a resource for you as well. But verse 1, the wicked flee where no man pursues, but the righteous are as bold as a lion. Right? You got that person, they're scared of everything. Or not everything, but we've all been in that situation where you think you feel something touching you. It's like a bug or something. It like tickles a hair on your arm or on your leg or whatever. And you jump in and you look and you're like, oh, it's nothing. Right? Just like a wicked person will flee when no man pursues. And this could even be a greater instruction, not instruction, but a greater image of wicked people who feel guilty when things are like going wrong or when they're doing something wrong. And it's like, well, you don't believe in God. So what do you feel bad about? What's the morality issue there? You don't believe in morals, so you don't believe in a God. Right? Which just means it's all your thing versus my thing, and it just is what it is. But the righteous are as bold as a lion. They may see the coming transgressions, or they may see something, and they're just bold because they know that they can look death in the face and be saved through Jesus Christ and not have to worry about death, right? To die is to gain, is what Paul said in the New Testament. So when we die, we are gaining. We are not losing. So when any man pursues, we can be bold as lions. Verse 2, for the transgressions of land, many are the princes thereof. But by a man of understanding and knowledge, the state thereof shall be prolonged. And in AMP, we can see when a land does wrong, it has many princes. But when the ruler is a man of understanding and knowledge, its stability ensures. So we can take this to our country, or if you're American, our country. If you're not American, see how this can apply in your own country. In America, technically, we have many princes, right? We have the president, the vice president, secretary of the House, secretary of defense, all these people that are like the top dog in their one thing, but they're also checked and balanced by other people. And because of the system of checks and balances, no one person can be in control. Because of that, we can see that a land is doing wrong. Because if you can't trust one person to be in control, something is wrong. You have to constantly check it, right? And we can even see this as Christians, where in the New Testament we're told to confess our sins to other people, because we can't let ourselves be in control because we have our sinful flesh, our sinful nature as humans. So we have to live in the body and have checks and balances there, and that makes sense. But in terms of like putting your trust in a leader, if you got a lot of people that got to constantly check each other, that means that these people aren't doing something good. They're being corrupt in some sense. But when the ruler is a man of understanding, stability can ensure. And that just says when the ruler, one guy, right? Because that one guy, everybody has trust in him. It's great when it's like a common person who knew what it's like to be a normal citizen, because now so many people in politics are like so rich, and they're detached from what the average person is going through and what the average person wants. So it's very hard to, they can talk to them and they can do this and they can do that, but at the end of the day, they're not going to be able to experience that. So when one man is in charge and can be trusted, it's better for the nation than a whole bunch of people who are probably corrupt, checking and balancing each other, making sure that not somebody one in specific doesn't get too corrupt, right? Verse 3, a poor man that oppresses the poor is like sweeping rain which leaves no food. And poor man oppressing the poor, friendly fire will not be tolerated. Why are you oppressing the poor as a poor guy? Why are you hating on your brothers? Your brothers is down. Why are you hating on them? But it's like a rain which leaves no food. And the point being, back then when rain came, that was like watering their crops. So this was going to increase the yield when it came time to reap what they had sown. So it's like the rain, which is good, but it's a rain that destroys the crops, which is supposed to be watering and nourishing. Poor people supposed to be excuse me. Poor people supposed to be lifting up their brothers. Poor people, whether that's in spirit, material, whatever, supposed to be lifting up your brothers and creating a community. Same way that Christians are called to do, because we're getting persecuted, called to lift each other up. But this can really work in any circumstance. Supposed to be lifting up your brothers and all that. Friendly fire will not be tolerated. you're now just causing something that's supposed to be good and making it bad by hurting your brothers. Verse 4, they that forsake the law praise the wicked, but such as keep the law contend with them. So they that forsake the law, they're gonna praise the wicked. Why? Because they do the same thing. If they're forsaking the law, they're gonna praise the people that forsake the law, right? That's why we got them checks and balances, because people are gonna do wrong, and then the other people that are doing wrong with them are gonna praise them because they're like, oh shoot, he just like me for real. He's trying to do the same wrong that I'm trying to do, and then they're gonna contend with them. The people that contend the law are gonna contend with them, and that means they're going to go against them, right? They're going to fight them. They're going to strive against them, contend against them, struggle with them. They're going to try to make it right. So while we do have those system of checks and balances and the negative people keep trying to boost up the negative people, right, there is still somewhere hidden within there. It's very hard to find, which is why a lot of people are on one side in this country, a lot of people are on the other side. It's hard to see who's the right people and fighting for the right things, and everybody's going to have different ideas of what that looks like, but there are those people. There are those people that are going to keep the law and fight the evil people. Verse 5, evil men understand not judgment, but they that seek the Lord understand all things. And when it says evil men don't understand judgment, it says they don't understand justice. And when Pastor Paul was talking about this in the sermon, he made it to note that humans are not just creatures. We may act justly at times, we may act unjustly at times. However, we are unjust, we are not just. God is just. He is the embodiment of justice. Whatever God says goes, for real, for real. He created everything. If he says something is for some, that something's gonna be for some. If humans hear that something's gonna be for some, we may not do some with some, right? And then we get to our acting unjustly and proving that we're unjust because we cannot be just all the time. However, God is just all the time, which means he is just. We can only act in that way. But the point being, evil men don't understand that justice, right? That's why we have so many debates now about morality and how it works and all this thing. Like, people can't come to an agreement if you don't have God, because you have no basis, you have no foundation on which to stand your morality. But people that seek God, they understand all things, like the working of morality from that sense. Because if everybody's just an accident, everybody's morality is up in the air, because we can come together and say this is right and this is wrong. Doesn't necessarily make it right. Everything's an accident. Your right and my right are two different things, so let's make it left, right? And that's crazy. Verse 6, better is the poor that walks in his uprighteous than he that perverse in his ways, though he be rich. And Jesus said this, right? Verily, truly shall I say to you, it is more likely that a camel go through the eye of the needle and a rich man go into heaven. We know this, right? Jesus said, blessed is the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. We know this. Better is the poor that walk in uprightness, walk in uprightness, than he that perverse in his ways and be rich. What is that money going to give you? You can't take it when you die. It's not going to give you nothing but earthly pleasure, and we're told not to be of this world. So don't even bother with it, right? Don't even bother with it. Verse 7, whoso keeps the law is a wise son, but he that is a companion of riotous man shames his father. Keep the son, your dad's happy. Or keep the law, your dad's happy. He that is companion of riotous man, it's shamed. Why you going with the unrulies? Why you going with them, men? You're going with the waste, man, right? But when it comes to keeping a law and making your dad happy, it doesn't only mean your dad on earth, but your father in heaven, right? There's a distinction there. But either way, you're going to shame a father if you're going with the crazy man. But some fathers, they raise their kids in that way, where it's like, they're in gangs and then they make their sons in gangs. Like Lecrae, the Christian rapper, one of the biggest, he had a lyric in his one of his recent songs that said, my daddy ran with Compton Crips, my uncle's Pyru. And if you know, one's a Crip, one's a Blood, so they're on opposite sides. So his dad was one, his uncle was one. And he said, who's stuck in the middle of this madness, what should I choose? Right? He's in the middle of two sides. Which one does he pick? Because clearly there's a side to be chosen. And if his dad's in that and his uncle's in that, that's kind of what his family knows, which means you got to make that choice. However, he got out of that. Now he's a Christian, right? But that still speaks to it. If you're raised in that environment, you're going to be a product of it so long as you allow yourself to be. But you don't have to be, because God can free. Bars. Anyway, verse 8, he that by usury, I don't know how to pronounce that, an unjust gain increases his substance, he shall gather it from him that will pity the poor. So usury, I believe, is like debt, or finessing people out of money by some way, like a loan. AMP, he that increases his wealth by interest, so kind of like debt, right? Interest and usury, excessive interest, gathers it for him who is gracious to the poor. And we can see that, right? The rich get richer. We see this time in and time out, right? That system of checks and balances, regardless of what you want to say, regardless of who they're trying to help, the rich are going to get richer, right? There's videos that talk about, why is this person's net worth this when their salary is only this? How is it 28 times their salary? And they ain't been working for no 28 years. Insider trading, or whatever you want to call it, right? And 28 is probably just on a low ball, to be honest. But he's gathering it for him that pities the poor. And there's a lot of conversations on both sides. I hate politics, but at least in America, there's a lot of talk like, they're going to help people in this way, and they're going to help these people in this way. And both sides will say, we're going to help the average American, we're going to help the average poor person, we're going to do this and that, right? Both sides make those arguments, regardless of which side wants to say what about who. It's all to line their own pockets, right? They don't see us as people all the time. They see us as things that can boost their pockets, right? Things get cut, departments get cut, money for the thing, right? Certain resources, they get put into place. It takes more money from the average person, and it lines their pockets because it's more tax and it's more this and it's more that, and it makes it seem like they got more money than they do, and for the country and everything. So like on both sides of the spectrum, stuff is being done to line their pockets, because it really doesn't seem like, and to be honest, I read this verse wrong, because it says it's going to be for him who is generous to the poor. But I don't see that, to be honest. Like, Solomon made this idea, maybe back then it would have, right? Because the banks would have paid the king, and Solomon was a just or acted justly and was a wise king. Not justly all the time, but right, like he was a wise king. But let's check what it means by it'll give to somebody who's going to the poor. So disregard everything I guess I just said, but we can still see that it's true there, right? A lot of people, they just see the citizens as a means to an end to line their own pockets and preserve their own self and make sure that they're protected. And it basically just says in a commentary here, God will not allow those oppressive criminals to have the last word. In the resolution of God's judgment, the wealth of the wicked is simply gathered for those who have love and pity the poor. So basically saying, I guess Solomon saw in his day that it would end up to somebody who would do good with it, right? It didn't always lead to negative, right? Not always, but hopefully on this earth, it'll go to the good people. But at the end of the day, regardless, God says, blessed are those who are poor in spirit. There's a kingdom in heaven. So we just trust God that he's going to come through. We put our faith in him because he will come through. All right, that's going to be the end of the video. Hope you guys have yourself a fantastic rest of your day. Peace.